Hi. Welcome to Book Pop. I'm Jamie Anderson.
And I'm Molly Fish.
And how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. We had kind of a late night.
I had an early morning and we had a late night, but it was for a really fun reason.
Right.
Because we recorded our live season finale last night with Maggie Ginsburg here at the store, and it was an absolute blast.
Yeah, so this episode will air before that one. Mm-hmm. So consider this a little teaser. But it was super fun. We had a live audience, our friends and family, and then some people who listen to the podcast came.
Mm-hmm. And some of our bookstore regulars who are also now podcast listeners. And
we interview Maggie Ginsburg, who is the author of Still True. And we've talked about that book several times on the podcast. It was a great conversation and a lot of fun.
Yeah, so something to look forward to is our big season finale with real laughter in the background.
And clapping.
Real-time feedback. Yeah.
Real-time feedback. Real-time validation at some points.
Yep. Got to do quick polls of the audience of like, oh, do you agree with this? What do you guys think? And that was super fun.
I was surprised by some audience responses, so you'll have to listen.
And that's our season finale. So we're going to take a little bit of time off, like 6 weeks off maybe, before we start our big fall winter season.
Season 2.
Season 2. And hopefully that will run all the way up through December to help give you lots of like gift buying recommendations. And there's a lot of big books that always come out in the fall. And so we'll have a lot to talk about, I'm sure. We'll be reading a lot. We'll be working a lot. We'll be out of relaxed chaos summer mode and into like buckle down fall mode.
Right.
Q3, Q4, baby.
It gets pretty crazy.
But it'll be fun.
It will be fun.
So yeah, it'll be nice to take a few weeks off. We'll recharge. We'll bank some books that we've read.
We have a lot of books to read on our break for sure.
I'm going to go up north for a week and just read my pants off.
Like literally.
That's the whole plan.
No pants.
I was thinking about how last summer when I went up north for a week, I read Fourth Wing. And was like, nobody talked to me. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to pick what like this year's Fourth Wing is going to be.
Mm-hmm. I kind of had that experience with The Serpent and the Wings of Night because I was up north and that was a like heavy fantasy book. And I like, my jaw dropped at points and I would like stare at my cousin.
You want to like explain what's happening, but they don't have any context.
He'd be like, did somebody die? I'm like, yes, somebody died. Yeah, so I know how that feels for sure.
So fun. Fantasy romance up in the North Woods.
Yeah, it's really where it's at.
We're escaping. So yeah, that'll be a fun break. Then we'll be back, which will also be fun. We'll be all like energized and excited to talk to each other and podcast again.
And have so many books to talk about.
So many books to talk about. And if there's stuff that you guys want to hear from us in season 2, now would be a good time to start weighing in while we're planning what we're going to talk about for that season.
Absolutely.
So email us at
bookpoppodcast@gmail.com.
Great. I could never remember the email, so I just look at Jamie.
I panic and then I'm like, oh, it's the simplest email I could think of.
Fair enough.
But yeah, we'd love to hear some feedback about what you want from season 2. I got some feedback from my aunts while I was up north.
Okay.
Who listened to the podcast. They said we need to read more thrillers. So I took that into consideration with my current What Are You Reading?
Oh, great. Okay, so maybe I should ask you, what are you reading?
So I actually just finished it. I guess it's not my current, but I just finished it and I listened to it on audio. It is a recent release that is called Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. But it is a thriller. It's got elements of like ghosts and the supernatural. There's lots of twists in it. It's pretty fast paced, a little bit dark. It is about this kid who is in his parents' backyard and he's having a little camp out in a tent with his neighbor and best friend. And when he wakes up in the morning, his friend is gone and there's a slash in the side of the tent. So there's all these mysterious elements and nobody knows what happened. There's this mysterious person that the moms were talking about that they saw the day before. So they think it's that person who did it, but nobody else can corroborate this individual. And then it jumps ahead 30 years and you see these elements of this person's life. He goes back to his parents' house and is staying there while his parents have moved away. He's in this old neighborhood, and like all these characters are still there, and his other friends who have grown up that he has these interactions with. And then when he comes back, the body of his friend is found. So it's no longer a disappearance. It's a murder. There's foul
30
play.
30 years later?
I think it's 30 years.
Whoa.
It's like a long time.
It's a big jump.
It is a big jump. So like everybody's grown up. One of the kids is a cop, and you slowly it jumps back in time, and you get to learn like what everybody was doing the day before this camp out and all the things that led up to his disappearance. And then there's so many twists at the end. You don't see them coming. There's somebody who's dead that like you don't know is dead the whole time. And it was a lot of fun. It was the kind of thriller you want to read in the summer for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Have you read other Riley Sager before?
I have not.
Because I think that there are a lot of books by them. They always have like a popular summer read that comes out.
Only one left. I think that's the one that I recognize the most. The House Across the Lake is another one.
Always very like summery settings, which is kind of what you were talking about, like a summer thriller.
So it was really good. And I will read more thrillers.
And we have signed copies at the store right now.
We do.
Of Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. That reminds me that, and speaking of summer settings, 2 of the books that I have on the top of my TBR to read while I'm gone, I haven't started, but I'm about to start, are Bummer Camp by Anne Garvin. Anne Garvin, who we've interviewed on the podcast and who we love and who I love her writing. So she has this new book coming out September 1st called Bummer Camp. Takes place at a summer camp. I think it's like it's going out of business, and then people who used to camp there are like going back to like try and save it and are like going to be the camp counselors. And she's also doing this really awesome release event for the book where she's literally creating a summer camp for all of her friends. And so it's a really cool concept, and I'm excited about it. So it's like a lighter summer camp setting that I plan to read soon. And then I also have God of the Woods by Liz Moore at home. Similar setting, very different vibes. I think there's going to be like a speculative, not necessarily fantastical element, but there's like pink goo all over the cover. Ooh. I mean, not literally, but like dripping. It looks like it's dripping down the spine. And there is like disappearances, similar to what you were just talking about, where like the children of the people that own this summer camp have both gone missing. But like one just went missing and one had gone missing previously or something. I don't know. I have not started it. I'm remembering the flap. But I was like, ooh, I always love, we talk about, through lines with books and reading different books with like similar concepts in them, but not really the same at all. Yep. Very different executions.
So you're on the summer camp theme.
So I'm doing a summer camp theme for our little break. Those will be 2 that I cover for sure.
I am going to read I Know What You Did by Casey Osborne.
Ooh, yes. The Milwaukee author.
We had a book club in here a couple weeks ago and they were raving about it, and it's been on my mind, and I just need to do it.
So tell your aunts that we're working on it.
We're doing the thrillers.
And for all the rest of you, we do take feedback. We are open to feedback. We will change our reading and adjust it sometimes. Right. If we like the idea.
Absolutely. Well, and it's easy to get stuck in your ways, even if we try so hard to diversify what we're reading. We like what we like.
Exactly.
But we like thrillers too. We just get in
We do. It's good to get like pushed back into other things that it reminds you, oh yeah, I do like that stuff.
Yeah.
I do like thrillers and mystery a lot. Cool. Well, I feel like we should get to our main topic of today, which is our summer reading wrap up. Those of you who have been listening this season know that we read Funny Story by Emily Henry. Loved it. And wanted to invite all of you to read along with us and submit your reviews. So this is our wrap up where we've been collecting reviews from our friends and listeners. And we have compiled some data and we are going to share that with you now. I don't even know if you've looked at all these, Jamie.
No, I haven't.
So we'll be learning some of this in real time along with you.
Well, first of all, give a give a synopsis of Funny Story.
Okay, can I go? I don't need one. I don't need a copy.
Right.
Just describe my life for people. No, just kidding. Okay, Funny Story by Emily Henry is about a woman who has moved to a small town in Michigan with her fiance, who he is from there. He's like man about town there, knows everyone. She's like ingratiated herself in with his friends. And then right away, chapter 1, he breaks up with her, leaves her for his childhood best friend who he's always said, oh, there's nothing going on between us. It's really just platonic. But she's now in this town that is his town, basically. And she's uprooted her whole life and has been very unceremoniously dumped. Now, the person he left her for also dumped her partner, her longtime partner in this same town. And now the two dumpies have moved in together because she needed a place to live. Daphne, the lead character, needed a place to live. She had been living in this guy's house that she didn't own. She didn't have any paperwork or stuff in her name. So she moves in with the dumped ex-boyfriend. And they are commiserating together. They are both miserable and just looking on Instagram at these people who left them, who are now together and super happy. I don't know. How do we feel about spoilers for this episode? Are we doing spoilers? Because I feel like a lot of people's hot takes are going to involve spoilers.
Yeah, we should just get that out of the way.
Okay,
There's
so
spoilers.
You know what? Spoiler alert. Just don't listen. If you plan to read Funny Story and you don't want to know what's going to happen, maybe just wait and listen to this after, and it can be kind of a fun wrap up for you as well.
Yes.
And we'll see you. You can go listen to the season finale next. We'll see you next time. Save this episode.
Save this episode.
If you're not going to read it or you already have, then, go ahead and plow ahead because spoilers will abound. There we go. Now we can say whatever we want.
I love it.
Okay, so they get like a wedding invite. The couple that dumped them invited them both to their wedding, which is bonkers.
How dare
which
they?
very trips them up.
Well, and it's almost like they're trying to be like the better person in the situation. And
but it's like a guilt.
So shitty.
It's exactly. Because they're obviously not going to ever be the good guys.
Right.
When they dumped people to be together. So these two roommates who are both miserable and have been dumped decide to RSVP yes to the wedding. They get drunk and they're like, we're going to go. And then they come up with this fake dating plot to get back at them, which is, I think we've mentioned before on the podcast, not a real thing.
Nope. Nope. Nobody really does that.
Dates.
Nope.
It's just not a plausible thing, but it's a cute romance trope that I personally really enjoy. Same. I think it's a really fun, the wedding date. Remember that movie with Deborah Messing? There's so many good rom-com movies that have that and rom-com books. I love fake dating. It's just like a fun tension builder and oh, they have to kiss. And then oh, we like it. It's ridiculous.
Surprise.
We have great chemistry. Okay, so they have come up with this fake dating plot. Meanwhile, she is now just trying to piece her life back together. Separate from the fake dating situation, she's like, I don't have any friends.
Yep.
I don't have a home. I have this job that I like, so it's kind of keeping her there.
Yeah, she has this event that she wants to
and she has this
help
really
with.
big event that's going to be in 9 months or something.
So it's like a countdown too, so many days till I get to leave this city.
Correct, because she's like, I just have to get through this big readathon event at the library that I've been planning, and it's my baby. But in the meantime, she doesn't want to just wallow. And she's trying to get out there. So Miles, who is the roommate, says, well, I'm from here. I can help get you out and take you around. And they make this plan that every Sunday they're going to go do something together on a fake date, but also kind of unrelated to the fake dating, more just he's helping her out and showing her around and getting her out of the house.
Well, I think he was also trying to give her a reason to stay. And this town isn't just about him.
Totally.
There's good things about this town. And
I think there might have been, you're right. There might have been some pride of town. And he also is kind of Mr. Small Town Michigan, where he knows everybody. And as they go out around.
But he's more the friends in low places kind of guy.
Totally.
Which I prefer, let's be honest.
Well, and he's a bartender at this cool vineyard outdoor bar. And one of my favorite scenes is when she first goes there and she's like, thinks he's this low life, she has this formed opinion of him as like a nobody. And then she goes to this bar and she's like, this actually is a really nice place. And everybody there knows him and is laughing with him. And he's like the head bartender guy making everything happen. And all the customers are like, the women are flirting with him and the other bartenders are, chummy and stuff. And she's going like, wait, who is this guy? I don't really know him. And I like those moments in rom-coms where they have like a little flip of a change of heart about someone where you're like, oh, maybe I don't know you like I thought I did, or maybe I was too quick to judge. So that's a great scene for me. And she brings her friend, Ashley, her new friend, which, as we've mentioned before on the podcast, would be played by Jamie in the movie.
Happily.
The movie of my life.
Okay, that same scene, one of my favorite parts is when Ashley's like making out in the corner with some guy with a concert t-shirt on. What concert or what band was that? I can't remember.
I don't remember either.
Oh, but then he's like exclusively listens to that 80s rock band. Oh my God, what was it?
Get the book.
Get the book. Well, that's fine.
We won't find it.
You'll have to read it and figure it out.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, that was such a great scene. And it's like their first outing together as friends.
Yes. And she had kind of like out of desperation been like, because Ashley was kind of like too cool for her. She was like, I don't know if I could actually be friends with this girl. And she's like, well, I need someone to come with me to this bar. But then they really click and have a good time. And I think Ashley's helping shake her out of her wallowing as well. And is just a different perspective and kind of like direct communicator, which I just really loved Ashley's character.
Yeah.
So then the plot unfolds where, she's going on these dates with fake dates and real dates with this guy, Miles, who she's also living with. And it starts to get a little spicy.
But then they like pull back on it and they're like, we can't do this.
Oh yeah, this is a bad idea.
This is a bad idea. But then they do it again.
Correct. So there's some fun, like, will they, won't they?
Yeah.
Although obviously they will. And the roadblocks are kind of manufactured, but like it also kind of makes sense. Like there's some emotional maturity happening where like, maybe we shouldn't actually be doing this. We're both very raw out of these really devastating breakups and it's kind of a rebound, but then we're becoming friends. So,
Yeah. And then it brings in all like other elements of their family. Like Miles' sister comes to stay with them. And Daphne's dad and new stepmom come to visit
randomly,
just out of the blue.
And she has a complicated relationship with her dad. And the stepmom's a wacko named Starfire. Who's
I loved
reading
her.
her aura. I know. It was a really funny character.
She brought like such a lightness to it. It was,
And I really liked Miles' sister too. I feel like that was a great character and they had their own kind of difficulties. There was like a richness to these side characters that I felt really made the book more than a lot of rom-coms that you read because didn't have to always be calm in the rom, right? It was just like, no, there's like real conflict and backstory. And the fact that these characters are in their 30s, which is also something I love about this book. And they have these past relationships where they've fallen out with their sister or their father, or they haven't really fully come to terms with pieces of their family it just made it so much richer. It's not like 22-year-olds first love kind of a plot.
There was more thoughtfulness about are we going to or are we not going to?
Right, because it made they are more aware that like there's other things in life that are important, not just sex and marriage and your romantic partner.
And also the whole thing that she wants to build her own life, have her own friends, her own people, unlike her past relationship. She's trying really hard to have that base before she's in another relationship.
Exactly. And figuring out what that even means. And that's something I feel like we both can relate to, of just getting out of a big relationship and being like, what do I really want in my life? And maybe I lost sight of that. I kind of was doing what we were doing as a couple or what he wanted to do and figuring out like, how do I be true to myself? And what does that even look like and mean? And getting to explore with this person who's really different from her and who has this very different perspective. And also patch up some family relationships. I mean, like, it was great. I guess plot wise, want to go any further right now, or we could dive into some stats.
I think we should dive into some stats because these are pretty revealing.
Okay, the average rating, I asked people submitting reviews to give a 1 to 5 star rating for Funny Story. The average rating we got was 4.2. It's pretty high.
Yeah, that's pretty high.
People liked it. I feel like that's probably where I would have put it. I'd probably put it at like a 4.5 for me. Like, I don't know. There's maybe a couple things I didn't love, and we'll get to that of like how it ends. But overall, it's my favorite Emily Henry.
Yes, same. And I also think that I started with the best kind of, well, I started with Happy Place and then Funny Story. So it only got better, but then I went back and I was like, nope, Funny Story is still the best.
Well, do you want to hear the average ratings of the other Emily Henrys that our listeners gave us? Because I thought this was pretty interesting. Okay, People We Meet on Vacation, 3.8. That's the lowest. That was people's overall least favorite.
Okay.
Which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, that's still pretty high.
It's still pretty high.
Yeah.
I think like we're talking to people who have read 5 books by the same author for the most part. So like we know they like them. But relative to each other, it's the lowest. Beach Read was a 4, average 4. Happy Place and Book Lovers were tied at 4.3. So a little bit above Funny Story.
Oh, wow.
And overall, Book Lovers had the most 5-star reviews, but they also had, enough like 3 stars to kind of pull it down. Whereas Happy Place was all 4s and 5s.
Wow.
So it had the most consistently high reviews, but it was like mostly 4s and not as many 5s. Whereas Book Lovers had like a wider range, but had a lot of 5 stars.
I did love Happy Place, but it took them so long to just get their shit together and realize that they needed to be together.
I know.
That was a little frustrating for me. When she left him in the bed when she was flying home. Sorry, more spoilers.
We can put at the beginning, it's just like full Emily Henry spoilers.
Full Emily Henry spoilers.
But I loved, so if we're talking a Happy Place ending, I genuinely loved the way it ended where she was like, I'm giving up my job that I hate and moving to Montana to like unplug for a while.
Yes.
And that's like a very relatable thing in your late 30s.
Yep. All the change.
She's only like 30 in that. And I think a lot of younger readers were like, what? Why aren't you being a doctor? And it's like, trying hard is not the only thing at life.
Right. There's happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Find your happy place.
Yep. Exactly.
But yeah, so Funny Story was pretty high, almost just right behind Book Lovers and Happy Places, people's favorite. We also asked people their favorite character.
I am not surprised by this at all.
Do you want to say who it was?
Ashley.
Not surprised at all.
Not surprised at all because she was so funny and genuine and then Daphne like ditches her on her birthday and I was like so heartbroken about that. Like, how could you forget about her birthday?
Okay, but while you were reading it, did you remember? Because I feel like
I remember them saying like, okay, Saturday, this is what we're doing. And then that whole like 2 chapters, I was like, when is Saturday?
See, I lost track of that.
I did not.
Similar to Daphne, but I think I just like, if it were me in real life, I would have put Saturday in my fucking phone planner and then I wouldn't forget anything because that's the only way I can live my life and not and actually like make plans.
Same.
And so I was like, what? She doesn't have like a planner? She doesn't have a Google Calendar?
She works at a library and she doesn't have a planner?
Because she seems like she is like a planner.
Right.
But maybe that's part of her like, well, I was really getting lost in that weekend and her and Miles have this like big night together and she freaks out because she sees Peter, her ex, somewhere, right? Isn't that the night where she's like, oh my God, and they just like go away to the beach?
Was that the prom one? Was that the prom where they see? Okay.
It's the prom. But like she went to the prom instead of going to see Ashley. So I was like, I don't remember how she forgot that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just that she got all swept up in him and in her feelings and wasn't thinking about someone else. But still, like, put that in your phone.
Right.
And then you don't have to worry about forgetting about things.
Don't ditch Ashley.
I totally agree. Second place favorite character, though, was Miles.
And I think that it has a lot to do with the first scenes where they're moving in together and he's like watching, what is it, Bridget Jones's Diary?
He's watching Bridget Jones's Diary and crying and smoking weed.
Yes. Yeah.
And won't come out of his room. I know, it's super relatable.
And then he's like, do you want to come watch with me? And I was like, I can't believe she said no to that. Like,
Big
yes.
mistake.
Yes, I want to watch.
I also, while we're on Miles, we like read some comments online about Funny Story too. One of my favorite comments was like, oh, this is Nick Miller fanfic. Miles is like a Nick Miller character from New Girl, which was the Zooey Deschanel sitcom that I absolutely loved.
Huge fan.
And I loved Nick Miller.
Uh-huh.
And it's absolutely Nick Miller vibes for Miles.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, that's
I
why
can
we
see
love
that.
him so much.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Because it's like lovable bartender getting his life together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a phone or whatever. All of his kind of off.
Right. Doesn't
stuff.
answer his phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Number 3 for most loved character
Daphne.
is Daphne. I mean, she was a great protagonist. I thought she was relatable, and I feel like you have to love her. Too relatable. Yeah. Maybe a little bit. And then, but what else can we say about her? She's yeah. Okay. Rounding out, favorite character.
Julia, Miles' sister.
She was great. So she was like the younger sister, and she didn't really have her shit together. And
he had like taken care of her a lot because they had a tough family situation, but then he didn't recognize that he had been so important to her, and he thought he had really let her down in a lot of ways. Like he was holding himself to a really high standard. So she was kind of coming back and trying to now take care of him. And he didn't recognize that dynamic. And I feel like that's a really relatable thing too, is that like if you don't talk about that stuff explicitly, you don't really know how other people think of you, even like siblings.
yeah.
So I liked that arc a lot. And the sister was just such a fun character and like kind of teasing them, and was one of the first people seeing like, oh, this is a thing that you guys are doing.
And then she develops a really good relationship with Daphne and also with Ashley, and they kind of have this little side friendship, which is fun. So yeah, she was great.
I'd say the least favorite characters are pretty predictable since there's like literal villains in this. And overwhelmingly it was Peter that people chose, and that's Daphne's ex who dumped her. Not a lot of redeeming qualities.
No. And then he goes back, and like him and Petra break up, and then he goes to Daphne's apartment. Daphne
crawling back.
Yeah. And then he rats on Miles about helping Petra move.
Yep.
Which, okay, so shitty.
Yeah, we'll have to get to that. That's really one of the biggest controversies. Yeah. Yeah, so it's not even just the original dumping. It's like the whole way he handles it throughout, of like inviting to the wedding, then breaking up. And then I forget, did he break up with Petra, or did they like did she leave him? And that's why he's kind of coming crawling back. I can't either. We read this book months ago for the record.
But I think he told her that it was a mutual decision, whether or not came crawling back to their apartment that they shared, knowing that they were dating.
I know. Despicable.
Mm-hmm. So I agree with that. Peter sucked.
Tied for least character after Peter is...
Oh, there's 3 of them that are tied.
They're all 3 tied. Petra, the ex-girlfriend of Miles, and then Starfire and Jason, who are Daphne's father and stepmom, which I think was just like one reviewer in particular who did not like that plot line and did not really like those characters showing up, which is understandable. Yeah. Like, I can see that.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought they were fun. Yeah. Her dad was also not a great dad.
Yeah. They're like, oh, let's make a plan. And then they like took off and didn't say anything. I feel like that's kind of another, like, that happens literally to Nick Miller with his dad in New Girl, by the way. I just watched that episode recently where his dad's like, hey, let's go out for breakfast in the morning, and then like leaves in the middle of the night. But Nick says like, it's just what he does. So I feel like that's like kind of a relatable sitcom trope too, of like the dad that makes promises he can't keep. But then they do kind of redeem themselves at the end too. And they do come back and they try to establish a more long-term relationship. So I feel like there's some good redemption there.
I'm not surprised by the most relatable character.
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly from Daphne's point of view, and I feel like they did make it very relatable. So she's listed as most relatable, with a couple people answering that they thought Julia, Miles' sister, was relatable. I thought that was very fair. Okay, so we asked people what their favorite scenes were. We'll go through these pretty quick. I definitely agree with a lot of these. When they went to the Beetree bookstore. Okay, so we got to give a shout out to Lauren, one of our regulars here.
I did not put this together.
Who She figured out, as probably a lot of people did, but we didn't, that they go to a bookstore that is owned by characters from Beach Read. And it's like the same town, or it's like near the same town as where Beach Read takes place.
Yeah.
In
And
the Emily Henry multiverse or whatever.
It's one of my favorite things about Beach Read, and there's not many of them. So I'm like upset I didn't.
Spoiler alert for your review during the finale.
I say more about that in the finale show for sure.
But that is a really cool scene when they do it like a little overlap with those characters. The poker night scene, I totally agree with that. That was one of my favorites. I feel like, and this person puts it well, I loved seeing Daphne experience a friend group she earned rather than inherited. And you could tell that she was super nervous, which was interesting seeing her like, oh, I have to, these are like work colleagues and some people I don't know and people I'm like just developing relationships with, and they aren't just her boyfriend's friends, right? Which was what she had always had. So it was nice that she got to just start being herself again. Like, I feel like that was a good insight into who is she in this world and how does she relate to people. Someone mentioned, like you said, that Julia and Ashley kind of developed this cute relationship and then they were like wreaking havoc together. I feel like that was a good
little side plot,
good little side pairing of those two characters. Someone said their favorite part was when Daphne threw almonds at Peter and Petra. What do you remind me what this was?
It's like the first scene where she has like the Jordan almonds for her future wedding. And they're like driving away in the car and she's throwing the almonds at them.
Oh, that's right. I didn't realize Petra was like in the car.
She was in the car.
Oh my God.
Like waiting in the car.
Terrible.
And she didn't even give Miles an in-person breakup. She left a note.
That's right. That's right.
And he showed up at Daphne and Peter's house with this note in his hand, like crying.
And that's how they ended up moving in together, right?
Yep.
She's like, well, I need to go somewhere too.
Yep.
That is pretty funny that she threw the almonds. Who has Jordan almonds? Like, let's get rid of those at weddings.
Yes,
they're gross.
They're gross.
Definitely when Miles takes her to his like secret beach was cute. The scene when Miles is taking Daphne around town to buy produce from local farmers, and that's kind of you being introduced to him as, you know, sweet and well connected, and like you mentioned it like, oh, he's got friends in low places, but really it's just like he has a lot of friends all over the place and was so well connected with the community. Okay, least favorite scenes?
Yes.
The ending, someone just wrote. They did kind of
It could use 3 more chapters. Okay, I feel like that was, yeah. But I think the ending kind of bothered me too because she was not ready to commit to him. And I was like, just get on with it. You love him.
Yeah, she was kind of hemming and hawing still. I kind of get it in that she had already like in her mind being like, I'm leaving. And had this really successful job interview and had this cool job lined up somewhere else. And so to me, it was more complicated than just like, well, I love this guy, but she also felt like she needed to get out of there.
I wonder if it's more that, because it kind of goes forward in time a little bit.
Yes.
And I wonder where she wanted the 3 extra chapters. If it was the future Miles and Daphne, because I'd be into that.
I agree.
When they buy their house and have their family over and...
Or even just giving us a little more reconciliation, or like it was kind of this sudden, he made this sudden decision where he was supposed to pick her up after the readathon, right? They were going to go like talk about what's happening with them and make a decision. And he just doesn't show up. No call, no show.
Well, that wasn't even the readathon, right? That was...
No. Well, he did. No, you're
it
right.
was after a day of work. Like he was just supposed to pick her up after work. And it was after they like got together.
Yes.
And he just didn't show up, didn't text, didn't call.
You're right. It was like the next day.
Yes.
And a no call, no show is like unacceptable to me in 2024.
Unacceptable.
Like it's so easy to shoot a quick text.
Yep.
It's too easy. There's no reason to just ghost someone who you care about. I mean, like there's reasons to ghost people in general.
Yes.
In this situation, there's no reason to be like, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to text you. Like, no, you didn't.
Right. And then when she does hear from him, it's just like, yeah, sorry, can't make it.
So you find out via Peter that he actually, Miles had gone and helped Petra when he found out that they had broken up, the couple that was getting married. It seems like he ran back to his ex and was helping her move. And she had always been like using him and like manipulative.
She doesn't seem to
way.
have like a very high view of Miles.
Right. She just was like, I say jump, I need you.
Yeah.
And he just is at her side again, which is the perspective that we have on it until we actually hear from him. But he was not doing himself any favors by not communicating up front of like, hey, this is what I'm going to go do. So then it turns out he only helped her for like a minute or like went over there.
Or dropped off his truck or something.
Yeah, he like gave her his truck. And then he actually was trying to go get Daphne's dad back.
Yeah.
Because he was mad about that, which also feels like a fool's errand. And
Right.
it's like, no, what she wanted was for you to pick her up at work and to have a conversation. And then you're doing these weird gestures for other people and then for her, but misguided. And it's
Right.
like people ask you to do and not what you think that you should do for them.
Yeah. She already knows that her dad is unreliable and
Right. You can't
flaky.
fix it by going there.
Right. You can just not be like he is.
Correct. That is what is more important.
Yes.
So I agree, like, and I'm fine with people making mistakes in books. I'm not saying these are like unforgivable things that he did. It is more like, but why? But why?
But why? It doesn't help him.
Yeah.
Inevitably does not help her.
Yeah. It felt like weird mistakes to me. Like it felt like they set him up as this really perfect, thoughtful guy. And then it was like weirdly out of nowhere.
Yeah. But that did open up the opportunity for him to seek redemption when like he volunteered at the readathon and
But it just felt so unnecessary of a conflict, and like sometimes forced conflict to like create roadblocks in these books really makes people frustrated. And
Yeah.
like, I get that. I feel like I'm being manipulated unnecessarily. Like it didn't feel very natural, and the timing of it. And he knew that this thing was happening. And I was like, this doesn't feel like a thing that this character would have done.
right. I agree.
So
Another least favorite part of the book, when Daphne interviewed for the library, this person says, I really did think she was going to end up leaving.
yeah, they set that job up to sound real good.
Right? I can't believe she turned it down.
I know. So
It
yeah,
was like by her mom, she'd be moving back. I don't know. Maybe that's part of like a digression for her, but I also feel like maybe she could have been like seeking back her people in her life. So yeah, I thought she was leaving too. I mean,
I did too.
Yeah.
And like maybe he was going to go with her and they were going to start some new life somewhere else since he already knew everybody there. And now I feel like she did kind of end up just staying in a place that her partner knew and she didn't. But she had claimed her own, she's
Yeah.
like, okay, I have my coffee shop now and I have my house that I picked that I like and I have my friends here. So she did kind of do that where she was just establishing her own relationship there. And I do like that she was like taking back this place for herself and be like, no, I can choose to be here and I don't have to just be in someone else's town. However, that could have been a cute ending too. Is like, we're going to go start this new adventure together somewhere.
Yeah. I like it.
There were definitely 2 comments of people saying that the dad Starfire stuff was not their cup of tea. And I get that. My favorite line is this one. Truly from the bottom of my heart, thought that the scenes with Daphne's dad and stepmom were so unnecessary. Daphne had enough problems. And someone else mentioned like maybe where it was in the book or the pacing of it kind of and how it threw off the relationship of Daphne and Miles maybe made it frustrating too.
Oh, okay. So this comment is least favorite part is how Peter tells Daphne about his relationship with Petra. I kind of liked it because it was so dramatic
It was
and
juicy.
so abrupt. And
I know.
Yeah.
It was like a soap opera twist. Well, and similarly, someone said they didn't like when Daphne stood up Ashley. Oh, sorry. Never mind.
Oh, yeah.
No.
We talked about that.
But
We didn't like that either.
We didn't like it, but it also felt like kind of a thing that needed to happen for her to shake out of her like love blindness.
Yeah.
Like that's one where I'm like, see, that's like a mistake someone made, but it makes sense for the character that she did it. And it helped move the plot forward and like helped bond them. And I don't know. So I wasn't as mad that it existed the way I was mad some of these other things existed.
Yeah, fair.
I always feel like this, and I feel like I kind of mentioned already. Someone said that their least favorite thing is the fact that the biggest issue could have been solved with a quick, honest conversation, and it wouldn't have been comfortable, but at least it would have resolved more quickly, and they wouldn't have had to do like their breakup. But I feel that way. I mean, that's
right.
Every
Then we wouldn't
rom-com.
then we wouldn't have romance novels. And
It's every rom-com. And I do feel that way every time. And it's one of the reasons why I like have such honest, direct conversations in my real life, is to avoid the bullshit of.
And it's also why we like to read these.
Yeah, that's true.
Things, because it's not in our real
messy,
life.
and it's like,
We can read about the mess. We don't have to experience the mess.
great point.
Yeah. Hot takes.
Hot takes.
Oh, Miles is the best Emily Henry man.
I think I agree with that. Or he's the one that I would want to be with the most. You specifically did not like the beach read
Gus.
lead character. Gus was that
is
his
a
name?
POS.
Miles was a great one. This is the Nick
Miles
Miller
is great.
effect
Yep.
for me. I thought like the People We Meet on Vacation guy I liked too. I was into him.
Okay. I haven't read that one.
The book lovers guy I did not like.
Okay,
That was part
okay.
of why I did not like him.
Happy Place. I can't remember his name. He just needed, like, he didn't tell her how he felt. It was just like, so.
He needed to grow a pair or something.
Yes.
Like, someone said their hot take is that the side characters carried the story. I feel like that is a very like correct take, actually.
I agree, but in like the best way. I love
Yes,
the side
exactly,
characters in this one
exactly.
so much. Kind of wish Peter and Petra got married and then divorced like 2 weeks later. That would have been good. I also
would've been
kind of like
good.
that I like that they broke up too. Crawling back to Daphne was such a good
I know, I liked that
turn.
part too.
Yeah.
But it would have been if he had more like consequences of it. The way she had all these like wedding consequences of having to undo their wedding planning and had this whole like closet full of all the shit for their wedding that she had been planning and had to deal with it. And it's like, I hope that Peter had to deal with some of that too.
Right.
Our friend Claire had a funny hot take about Daphne's slinky black engagement party dress and how she keeps talking about that's what like her only thing that she feels sexy in. And so she wears it like multiple times. And I think it's really funny that Claire did not like that. She says, don't get me wrong. I love that she wore it to the senior prom. Eat your heart out, Peter. But Emily Henry makes such a point to state that her buttoned up style is unique to her and attractive to Miles and something that she was getting negged for by Peter and Petra. So why are we doubling down on that and saying the only time she feels hot is when she's wearing the dress? So it's like, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. I agree. Thanks, Claire.
Good call, Claire. We agree.
Call. Oh, I like that. I like that she talks about past traumas and how they impact current relationships. I feel like that was a big part of the storyline, both for Daphne and Miles, with Miles's parents and Daphne's dad. And also you get the effect from Julia as well. And she also like talks about how she had such a good relationship with Peter's parents. And I think that plays into like the dynamic with her own parents and like why she liked her relationship so much with Peter. And
Daphne had a great relationship with her mom though. And I
She
really
did.
liked the boundaries that they were setting but they also had this familiarity and support, but it wasn't like, I'm going to emotionally dump everything onto my mom.
yep.
I feel like that's also a thing that I related to a lot in my life of like, oh, okay, I'm going through some stuff that like, I can't like run to my mommy about and I'm going to have to just get through it. And that will help preserve that relationship and in a different way. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was really relatable for me too. But I think maybe this person's hot take is that like they liked the trauma stuff, right? That was in it.
Oh, okay.
Is that how, that's how I was reading it.
Yeah.
But maybe, yeah, she's just saying like, that is a relatable part of the story. It seems like everyone really liked Funny Story for overall. And we had some qualms and we wish that the ending had been a little less rough.
Yeah.
But I did like the epilogue a lot. I thought it was cool that they didn't actually get the house that she like her dream house. It's just like down the street.
Yeah.
I was like, that's real.
Right.
That's how that works.
Yeah. Well, and I think it also plays to like things don't end up what you think perfect is. You can still make your happy place without that.
I love that you just used the happy place.
I did.
But it's very true. I think that's a great theme of this book is that you don't know what you want,
what is meant for you,
what is meant for you, and you can't just decide it. You have to kind of find it. Whatever you think or plan for is not necessarily going to be the right thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I loved it. It did have some of my favorite romance tropes, like we mentioned, because it has fake dating and forced proximity because they're living together. It has little opposites attract in there because they're, seemingly very different at the beginning and then kind of find each other. So we asked everyone in our review poll, what are your favorite romance tropes? And we have 2 that are tied for first place. Do you want to say what those are?
So it's fake dating and enemies to lovers. Enemies to lovers is probably my favorite. I love fake dating too. It is just so unrealistic.
Okay, enemies to lovers is the most unrealistic.
Okay. I don't know.
Frickin' Zayden and what's her name in Fourth Wing?
Oh my gosh. Violet. It's like Lily?
That was super close. Okay, Zayden and Violet and being like, he's gonna murder me to straight through to we are inseparable.
He was never gonna murder her, I don't think.
That was literally what she was told by everyone around her, like her sister, when she was going across that first like parapet.
Fair enough.
It was like, that guy will kill you.
Will kill you. But
maybe that's just like a little bit of Rebecca Yarros hyperbole. I don't know.
Maybe.
And I agree. I like it.
Yeah.
I like that better than Friends to Lovers for sure.
Yeah.
Friends to Lovers to me is like, that's like people we meet on vacation. It's not as
intense. No. And I agree.
Or like When Harry Met Sally and you're like, yeah, you guys should have known this sooner.
Next up, forced proximity, which is
classic. Tied with Grump and Sunshine for second place.
Yes. I like the Grump and Sunshine too.
And we kind of have a little bit of that in here.
I was going to say, I feel like Miles is the sunshine.
Yeah, ironically, because in the beginning, he's so, she thinks of him as like the grump, pothead, secluded, burnout, whatever.
But then he's so social and
Yeah, exactly. Now that's a realistic pairing right there. Grump and Sunshine.
Yeah. Nope. You're right. You're right.
You find that in real life.
Yeah. Stuart is the sunshine for sure. Yeah, that's real.
Yeah. I would say I'm probably more the sunshine, but
I would agree.
We flip sometimes. Okay. I feel like that's like you got to find a person
that compliments you.
Yes. That like you can help each other. Because like sunshine people, you can't just live your life like that. Or they don't know how to deal with it when bad things happen. Then. And they need someone who is more cynical and experienced to be like, oh, honey, I got you.
Here for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Coming in third place, tying for third place, we have Friends to Lovers and Opposites Attract.
And Opposites Attract is like similar to Grump and Sunshine, I feel like.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are great.
And then rounding out, there's 5. Oh my gosh. Only one bed.
Love it. That's in Happy Place.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Girl Next Door. Classic.
Cute. Classic.
Second Chance. I like a second chance.
Yep.
Love at First Sight. Unrelatable.
Reformed Rake. Loved a Reformed Rake. That's like the dream. Also unrealistic, but like you think that you can change people.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's like straight up fantasy right there. Reformed Rake.
Yeah.
I love it.
Of no interest to anybody.
Oh yeah. The 3 that got 0 votes as their favorite tropes. That is fantastic.
Love triangle.
I like it when there's like two guys fighting over them though, and she's like got to pick werewolf or vampire, kind of a Twilight deal.
Okay. I can see that.
Yeah, that's not the worst.
Best friend's sibling, which is in the new Carly Fortune.
Yes.
Which I loved.
I was going to say, I like a best friend sibling trope. I'm surprised no one voted for that. I would have voted for it.
Yep. And Forbidden Love. Also here for that.
Same. And that I feel like plays into a lot of like the mythological books I read, like mythology fantasy, where there's like a prince and a pauper, or like a queen who's not allowed to marry the whatever person there, you know. Romance. Well, we're trying to switch it up a little, but this was our summer read. We picked one we knew we would love. Summer is a time for romance.
I have a pretty diversified list of books that I want to read during break.
Nice. Good for you. Same, I guess. I'll work on it. I'll work on it.
I'll think more on that.
Try to diversify mine.
Yeah.
After my 2 summer camp books.
Right. Well, thanks everybody who filled out the survey for our summer read along. That was interesting.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we loved it. Our finale episode will air next Friday.
Look forward to that. Look forward to season 2, which will start this fall. And hopefully we'll have even more ways for you guys to weigh in on books and give us your feedback about what we're talking about and what we're reading and what you're reading.
Thanks for listening, and see you at the bookstore.
See you at the bookstore.
Bye.
You can find all these titles and more at lakecitybooks.com/bookpop. You can listen to Book Pop on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and at Speak.Studio/bookpop. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and review. For a behind-the-scenes look, find us on YouTube at Book Pop the Podcast. Comment on today's episode by sending us an email at bookpoppodcast@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at Book Pop the Podcast.